Two-part question here. I have food truck and want to wire up a home-based electrical service, and I have two generators that I want to run parallel when I'm on the road. Is this something that we can get done through JustAnswer? Thanks.
Hello. I wouldn't recommend wiring the feeds from two generators together to one panel unless they can be synced together. Otherwise you risk a dangerous situation if any of the UN sync system wires, whether hot or neutrals, get tied together. If your generators can't be synced, you could get another small panel like you have now and run the other feed to that.
Okay, let's move to the home-based electrical service. I am wanting to hook up a double-pole 30-amp breaker out of my garage, which has a 100-amp service box. I have 10/3 wire to run from my box to the outlet. This should be okay. And not trip like a single-pole 30-amp like I used for my RV. If we had the AC running, we could trip the breaker if too many appliances was used at one time. I would put a hot on each side of the panel, right?
As far as tripping, I don't know your load, so I can't say what will trip what. However, I didn't see any two-pole breakers in your panel that you posted. So I assume there are no 220-volt appliances or other loads? If this is the case, then you will have the equivalent of a 60-amp service of all 120-volt loads, so I would guess that would be just fine. Again, I can't say for sure without knowing the electrical data of everything in the truck.
There is no 220 appliances, they are only 110. Also, should I make all my breakers inside the truck 30 amp, and should I bump up to 50 amp double pole from my 100 amp service box in the garage, and will the 10/3 be adequate for a 50 run?
10/3 is adequate for a 30 amp, 50-foot run. Do you mean make your receptacle and light breakers 30 amp?
Would using a double pole 50 amp with 10/3 out of my garage service box to my truck panel be okay? That would make it a 100 amp panel in the truck. I have 5 20 amp breakers and one 30 amp in my truck. The 30 amp was wired with 10 halves and will be used for my double electric fryer. I was pretty safe trying to put the less amount of load on each breaker. Should I use 30 amp across the board in the truck service box? I don't want to waste money, but don't want issues while running the truck. Thanks.
No, you can't use 10/3 for a 50 amp. You would need 8/3 for that. As far as the 30 amp breakers in the truck, I don't know. Not allowable for regular household type outlets and lighting though.
Would my box in the truck handle the 50 amp load and be a 100 amp service box? Would the 10/3 and a 40 amp be okay and make a 80 amp service box? The generators are the same brand and wattage, does that make them sync?
Hold on, let me take another look at the pic you posted. I can't read the model number on that tag above the breakers. What is it? Are you still there?
Sorry, had to step away. I will have to go look at the amp rating. Thanks.
Okay, let me know.
It is rated at a 100 amp, thanks.
Okay, so that would be twice as much as your 50 amp 2-pole. Do you have any other questions?
I've already purchased the 10/3, so what would be the largest breaker I should safely put in my main in the garage? The generators are the same make, model, and wattage. Does this ail the generators in sync? Thanks.
30 amp, 2-pole breaker is the maximum you can use for 10/3. They would need to have an option for syncing. Probably not, but I can check if you give me the make and model.
Duramax Elite MX 4500E. I plan on running the wiring tomorrow, and we'll be able to close after that. Thanks, have a good eve.
Okay, I will check it out and let you know. Okay, I looked at the specs and they can't be synchronized. Here's my suggestion: get another small breaker panel and mount next to the other. Then wire your appliances and outlets as evenly as possible between the two. Wire the main power wires from each box going outside to a fused disconnect like this. http://www.hamadepot.com/p/ge30amp 120 240 volt 240 watt fused AC disconnect TF30 RCP/1005768894 with 15 amp fuses installed. Then wire from tot to a connection box like this. https://www.amazon.com/Reliance Controls Corporation PB30 generator/DP/B000BQT47S/ref equals PD_LPO_SBS_60_T_2 encoding equals UTF-8 and PSC equals 1 and refert equals 62 YF7A9K3SGN1 DEC. For home power, use this adapter to split the house circuit between the two panels. http://www.hamadepot.com/p/contact 3-foot 10-4 generator Y adapter cord NEMA L1430P4 prong 30 amp locking plug to 2 L1430 R30 amp female YL1430 L1430/3017947756. Merch equals rec_RV_GM_PIP_RR_206,409,408_301,794,756_N, and a 30 amp generator cord. For wiring a receptacle with the 10/3 at the house connection, use this http://www.sassaneelectricals.com/la3812l1lcr.html. If you want to look at each appliance electrical data and give it to me, I can tell you how to best spread them out over the two panels.
Thanks for all the info. I will prob just buy a 10K gen. I have a 5600 already, so I might try it. I wired up the 10/3 30 double pole this morn. Now I plan on making a cord to plug into the truck and garage outlet. It came with a cord and here is the info on it. CCIC Aprine 10512 AUG 4/C SHOAU E54864, UL, 600V. Will that suffice to carry the load? It is about 30 long. Thanks.
No, that cord is too small. You need at least 10 gauge wire to carry 30 amps. The connector box and receptacle I linked to will still work for you. That is the 30 amp plug that is on most generators. Then you could just use the same cord to hook to generator or house hookup. CPIC. Here's a couple 30 amp gen cords, one 25-foot. 150-foot https://www.amazon.com/NEMA L1430 generator power cord /DP/B003WZGH1Q https://www.amazon.com/NEMA L1430 generator extension cord /DP/B004SPA.
That is the type of plugs I have. I just don't have one long enough to go to the garage. That cord was with the truck and thought I would ask before I spent more money. Kinda thought it was too light. I will just make a heavy-duty extension cord out of it. Thanks.
Okay, glad to help.
If you have a home improvement or appliance question and want to chat with an expert now, visit justanswer.com/YTHI.